and welcome to Joburg Today. My name is Maps. Today's show is about the Holocaust and Genocide Center. Later on in the show, Noshina will be talking to Tali Nates. But first, let us see the building progress.
We're here at the site of the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Center. This is a project that's been brewing for a long time. It's a joint venture between the Johannesburg Property Company, which is part of the Johannesburg City, and a foundation called the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Foundation. And it is a museum, an educational institution that tells a very sad story, a devastating story. It's the story of what happens when one part of humanity decides, for whatever reason, to obliterate, to murder, to kill another nation, another part of humanity. And the museum is there to tell that story, to act as a memorial, and to make sure that our young generations are aware of what the risks are with our civilizations. First of all, we had to find a site, and we wanted to find a site in a prominent position. And the site we got from the Johannesburg Council. We went around with them and we found a site on Jan Smuts Avenue. So that was the first consideration. We were very lucky to get that. And then the next consideration was how we build a museum, how we find symbols of genocide and of the Holocaust. This is, of course, South Africa. We haven't had a genocide in South Africa. We've had a genocide in Africa, but this is not Europe. So we had to find a way in. We had to find an angle. We had to find a purpose for the museum in Johannesburg and in South Africa. The building itself is about 4,000 square meters, but that includes a basement, open plaza. We have seminar rooms, we have a big lobby, we have libraries, permanent exhibition and temporary exhibition spaces. We've got a resource center, we've got a coffee shop and a bookstore. We hope to accommodate lots of groups of different people. School children would come in the mornings, occasional visitors in the afternoon, and they would have a lecture, they would be orientated, and then they would go through the exhibition. The connection to Africa is this. Africa is in the process of creating new democracies all over. South Africa is a democracy, and democracies are being born all over Africa. But we must not forget that Hitler came to power in a democracy. What does that mean? It means that our democracies have to be protected. It means that the institutions that we set up have to be looked after.
Hi, I'm Rochelle and you're watching Joburg Today.
If you have any comments for us or there's something that you'd like to see on this show, keep in touch with us through social media by following us on Twitter at Joburg Today, liking our Facebook page, joburgtoday.tv, and don't forget, hashtag Joburg Today. Noshina chats to Tali Nates about the Holocaust and Genocide Center on Joburg Tomorrow.
Well, to talk further about developments there, I'm joined in studio by Tali Nates, the director of the Johannesburg Holocaust and Genocide Center. Tali, thank you so much for your time. What a pleasure to have you in studio.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Now tell us, Tali, how can a development like this actually enhance the city of Johannesburg's position on the continent?
It is so important to have a museum and an education center of this kind in such an important city in the continent. It is a city that people look up to, a city that has a lot of museums about apartheid, but does not have any educational centers or museums talking about the rest of Africa. So if you can imagine a new museum that will start its story in Namibia with the genocide of the Herero and Nama in 1904, and then we continue and reach Rwanda. We talk about South Africa and our human rights abuses 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago with apartheid, but also now. It is a hub, a place where people will remember the past, African past, South African past, as well as world past through the Holocaust, and learn how to safeguard democracy in our continent and how to prevent genocide from happening again.
Let me ask you this, Tali, because I think it's also important for us to understand why you chose South Africa and its major cities to establish these centers. What was the biggest draw card for you?
I think South Africa, to the rest of the world, is still a symbol of hope, a symbol of how peaceful negotiations, how great leadership can bring a peaceful resolution for huge human rights abuses that lasted for so many years. So if you look back and you think about 1994, April 1994, South Africa is the place that decides to go into democratic elections. 3.5 hours away, in the same continent, in Kigali, in Rwanda, the same continent goes into genocide. So we have the privilege, I think, in South Africa to offer a space where we can look at the past, European past, human rights past, but genocide past, and invite other African countries, but the world to say, come, let's learn together. We had a peaceful move to democratic governance. Come and look at what went right here, what went very wrong in a neighboring country 20 years ago.
South Africa certainly has a very strong democracy, as you've pointed out, but I think Lewis made a very strong point in that insert that we saw play out, where he said that democracies have to be protected. And certainly South Africa is not free of human rights abuses. What in your mind really stands out as sticking points that needs to be addressed now to avoid that backlashing into a catastrophe in South Africa?
It is such an important point because indeed we suffered. We have the best constitution in the world. We are a democracy, but at times we feel that even in the greatest of democracies, you have fragility, you have cracks, you have warning signs. If it is when you speak about the media, freedom of the press, when you speak about attitudes to foreigners, to immigrants, to refugees, to asylum seekers, when you speak about minorities, sexual minorities, when you speak about just racism that is still around, I think that we need to concentrate on those issues and not think we arrived, we have a democracy, it is great, we can relax, we don't have to worry, because we do know that democracy is always fragile. We do know that we always have to use education to safeguard democracy, and we always know that we need to look at the past in order not to repeat the same mistakes again. South Africa, I think the main majority of the problems that we should concentrate on is xenophobia, homophobia, and racism. These are the three key points that we need to look at and learn from the past to make them better.
I'm Zandile Ngubeni and you're watching Joburg Today.
Check out the special focus section to see what is happening in and around Johannesburg. And to see where Joburg is heading, check out Joburg Tomorrow. That's it from me, Mavs. I leave you with a song called Ordinary Boy by Craig Hines. Bye.
Back in ETV.
Ordinary boy, extraordinary girl, waiting on fate to take notice. Barely self-employed, purely self-assured, waiting on empty tables, waiting on the world, praying to a sky that's a silent blue, waiting for the right time to ask her, act as if the curse was lifted, act as lifted, got the gift, bought the winning ticket. Just act as if. Ordinary boy, extraordinary girl, makes him reach a little bit higher. Hard not to enjoy eating butter sandwiches. The nights that couldn't get much brighter, waiting for a chance to show her hard times on forever. Waiting for the right time to ask her, act as if the curse was lifted, act as if the ship's not drifted, got the gift, bought the winning ticket. Just act as if, as if, as if, as if. Ordinary boy, extraordinary girl, waiting on fate to take notice.